Quick plug real fast. One of my stories just got picked up by the Moth, so if you go onto their website and you see a story called Reindeer Games, vote for it. Whatever you do, don't vote for the one above it. Thank you. When I was 16, I went through this kind of weird phase in my life where I was really depressed and I was like teen drinking and teen drugging. It was like the Lindsay Lohan phase of my career. And I was really mad and angry all the time and just kind of seething in my room by myself. And one day, I kind of just snapped out of it and I thought to myself, I was like, there's no reason to be mad and angry at the world all the time when you can just be gay. And I was. And it just started making my life, just a little bit easier. And so part of me, this newfound me, was hanging out with a new group of people who were better for me to hang out with. And I started hanging out with this group of guys who all played soccer. And they all played soccer and they all went to this youth group called Young Life. And Young Life was it was like a little culty, but like not any more culty than like any other youth group. And it was, they would like sing songs and like have pie eating contests and talk about Jesus versus like my youth group, the Goya, the Greek Orthodox Youth of America, where we would watch documentaries on the Byzantine Empire and its effects on the modern day church. While thrilling, pie is much more exciting. And so I would hang out with them, and there was this one guy, his name was Eric, and he played soccer, and he was kind of like the smartest and the fastest and the prettiest of all of them, and I really wanted to be his friend for some strange reason. And so I was in pre-AP chemistry at the time, and my way of passing chemistry was to just distract our teacher by talking about Grey's Anatomy. And it was about to go into mid-season reruns, so I was like, fuck, I actually have to study. But Eric was really smart in AP chemistry, so I was like, oh, this is my in. This is my in. I asked him, I was like, hey Eric, I had this chemistry test coming up, could you help me study? He's like, oh yeah, absolutely. He's like, come over to my house, we'll study. I was like, all right. So I show up to his house at the appointed time. And I ring the doorbell, and the door opens, and it is his mother. And his mother is the thing that legends are made of, and she's this tiny, ferocious woman who apparently, from what I've understood about her, she just doesn't like his friends. Like, she just, she just doesn't like teenagers. And so she's like, oh, well, Eric's at the store, but he'll be back in a minute. I guess you can come inside. And she turns around and she goes, I'm watching this show. You probably haven't heard of it. It's called Project Runway. And I just turn around and I say, oh my God, Santino's such a bitch, right? And I'm in that with her. And we're best friends from that moment on. I'm the first kid who's walked into her house and they're just cussed right in front of her. But it's true, Santino was a bitch. So Eric shows up and we study, and I'm sure I spent most of the time just making really bad chemistry jokes instead of studying, and I made a C on the test, whatever. Went to college, was art school, whatever. At the time he was dating this girl, but she was really boring, so I thought surely anyway, so one night we were out at a parking lot, because when you're in Little Rock, Arkansas, there's 3 things you can do, and it's drinking and drugs, video games, and hanging out in parking lots, and the first 2 didn't interest me anymore, so here we were in a fucking parking lot. But it was a classy parking lot. And our, our friends are there, and they're like, we're going to go reindeer mounting. I'm like, reindeer mounting? I've never heard of this. And they're like, well, those cheap wire mesh reindeer that people put up in their yards during Christmas time. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, we take those and we mount them into sexual positions so that everybody in the neighborhood has a wonderful drive to work the next day. And I'm like, all right, let's go fucking mount some reindeer. So we drive out to the suburban neighborhood, in Little Rock, called St. Charles, and everyone has these tacky light-up reindeer. Everyone in this fucking neighborhood loves their light-up reindeer. So we mount 200 pairs of reindeer in one night. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're we're tired, we're ready to head home. And we see it. We see the last house. And this house is covered in lights, just absolutely covered in lights. They're all off at the moment, but you can see there's like Santa's sleigh and all the reindeer, and there's like reindeer spread out, and there's like elves, and there's a polar bear. It's the Mecca, the Shangri-La, the Moscow of tacky Christmas decorations. And we just stop our cars and we get out and we just go to fucking town on this house. And I'm up on the front porch because there's 2 deer right on the front porch, and I mount them right in front of their fucking front door because they're going to open that door and they're going to see the circle of life in all of its glory. And I am walking away, and I'm turning away, and I look down and I see it. I see a power strip with a glowing, blinking red light. And I look around, and everyone's mounting the elves and the polar bears. And I think to myself, fuck it. And I step on that red button, and the whole house lights up like the fucking 4th of July. And these people had like inflatable snow globes in their yard, and they start like inflating around us, and everything's coming to life. And the elves are like coming back for revenge against us. And I'm just standing there like framed in this house, and I like turn around, and Eric's like, "Run, motherfucker, run!" And I'm just like, "All right." And so like we run, and I end up taking Eric back to his house that night. And we're there, and he goes to his door, and it's locked. And he comes back, and he's like, "The door is locked." I'm like, "Well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. People do that." And he's like, "But I don't have my key, and I can't call my mom because she has to go to work, and like I can't get into my house." I'm like, "Well, we can just go back to my house. You can crash on my couch, and it'll be fine." And he was like, "No, I can't leave here." It's cold. And he's like, "We're going to sleep in the back of your car." And I'm like, "Okay." And so we like pop open the hatchback, and I remembered at one point I'd like gone to the car to like look for something, and I remember there was a first aid kit. And we opened up the first aid kit because I knew there was a space blanket in there, like just in case. Find yourself in space. And so like we like pull out this like tinfoil, space blanket, and we like get underneath it, and he's like, we like pile up our sweaters as pillows, and like the car's like fogging up, and we're just like cuddled up underneath the space blanket, and I'm just like looking back, and he's immediately asleep. Just like no fuck. He's just like, "I'm in the back of the car," and just like goes to bed. Well, I'm just like laying there, being like, I'm like, "Is this some kind of trick?" I'm like, "Someone's fucking with me. I'm looking at you. Is this because I kind of like Bella and Goya?" And so then I eventually fall asleep, and the next morning I wake up to the hatchback of the car just being flung open, and Eric just walks out of the car. He's like, "All right, thanks, man." And he just walks to his house, and he just knocks on the door, and somebody lets him in, and he goes inside, and I'm left there alone in the space blanket. So I get in the car, and I drive away, and I'm sitting at a stoplight, and it hits me. This thought hits me, something that probably hit most girls my age already at that point, and that's that boys suck. Thanks.